2024, the year that was comic books. It was an amazing year. Some might say it was an ultimate year for comic books. Today, I'm going to be giving you my top 10 best, favorite, whatever you want to call it, books of the year. These are all ongoing comic book series. So, that being said, there's not going to be anything that is no longer ongoing or anything like that. And this is just the top 10 books that I personally read. So, if there are other YouTubers or other places that you see other books that aren't on my list, I can only review and give books that I've personally read. So keep that in mind when you're watching this video. But with that being said, I do want to make a caveat. This series only, or this video only includes the books that have at least 5 issues out as of the recording of this video, which is 12/9/2024. And the addendum to that is if the series ran shorter and finished, then it can be included. So if there was a 4-part ongoing like miniseries, I will be able to include it. So with that being said, my name's Alex. This is Graphic Novel Collector. I come out with comic book and graphic novel YouTube videos every single week. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get over all that YouTuber stuff and let's jump into some honorable mentions. First up on the list, we've got Miles Morales' Spider-Man. This is done by Cody Ziegler, is the writer, and most of the issues were done by Federico Vicentini and Brian Valencia on the colors. Overall look of this book is top-notch. Actually, one of the best-looking Marvel books, in my opinion, this year. I mean, yeah. Vicentini, absolutely crushing it. But overall, the main overarching theme of this book was the fact that Miles was infected. During the Blood Hunt saga, he got infected and and still currently is, to the detriment, I think, of the book. This was actually in the top 10 before the last couple issues. He's a vampire now, and he's trying to deal with getting rid of his vampirism. But yeah, I just wanted to point this book out because overall this year, it has been a pretty darn good book. Next up, another honorable mention, we have Napalm Lullaby. This is by Rick Remender and Bengal. And this was another book that was in my top 10 until this very issue came out, where it's kind of starting to lose me. Anyways, the premise of this one is basically there is a theocracy going on. And if you know anything about Rick Remender's books, you know that he likes to push the edge. And he has some... This book might not be for everybody. Basically, our main characters in this book are trying to wake the world up, essentially. That this theocracy, which is, of course, a government run by religion, and they're trying to wake the citizens up of this world. Overall, though, this book has been really cool. Again, if you don't like delving into kind of more real, there's some real topics in here that might not be for everybody, but for my money, I've liked it. This issue, specifically issue 7, did kind of lose me a little bit, which did actually knock it down. Next up, our last honorable mention. This is Ultimate X-Men. This one's the first issue, but overall, Peach Momoko's art, oh my goodness, her storytelling is pretty great. Now, this is kind of a modern comic book in the way that it's a slow burn. Not a ton happens each and every single issue, but over the first, I think, 6 or 7 issues, actually, we might be up to 10. Yeah, this book has been coming out consistently since like the beginning of the year. That being said, the book has been pretty darn good. It has been a slow burn, so if you don't like the modern storytelling of a lot of comic book writers, this might not be for you. Also, it's very manga inspired. We have these huge panels. So, there's not, you're not going to have like 6 to 8 panels like most modern day comics. This is more of a manga style where you're going to have like 3 to 4, maybe 5 panels per page. And of course, Peach Momoko's art is absolutely gorgeous. She knows how to, she really gets these characters, and I feel like she cares very deeply about this series. But this is the Ultimate line of X-Men, and I know that not everyone has enjoyed her take on the Ultimate X-Men, but I think it's been pretty darn good thus far. Alrighty, before we get into the top 10 proper, as a reminder, my name is Alex. This is Graphic Novel Collector. If you like what you're seeing so far, make sure to like the video and, of course, subscribe. We are on the march to 1,000 subscribers, and that would be amazing if in 2025 I could hit it. So, yeah, hit subscribe and let me know what are your top 10 books of the year. Okay, not wasting any more time. Let's jump into the top 10 proper. And the 10th book, this is one of the ones I was telling you about. This is William of Newbury, a very, very indie book from Dark Horse Comics. The writer here is going to be Michael Avon Oeming. Okay, Michael Avon Oeming. He did the script, the art, and the letters. He did it all. This is a 4-part miniseries, and I really enjoyed it. We have William of Newburgh, who basically is, you know, he's part of a covenant. Not a covenant, he's like a priest, right? And they got to go and save basically their world of these demons and ghosts. And yeah, overall, I mean, look at the gorgeous art here by Avon Oeming, and it's great. It from start to finish, I was enthralled with this book. Obviously, the art is amazing. Definitely Hellboy vibes within the pages of this, but obviously we have anthropomorphic. He's a raccoon. He's a little cutie raccoon. And it was great from start to finish. I really, really did enjoy it. If you like kind of creepy, paranormal vibes from your books, you are going to really dig William and Newbury. And I wanted to point this one out because I feel like this is for sure not going to be on everybody's list. But for my money, it was a great comic, and I really, really enjoyed it. Shout out to Michael Avon Oeming for putting this story together. It was a fun story. It was a simple story, but overall, I really, truly did enjoy it. And it's at number 10 on my 2024 Top 10 Comics. Next up, we've got The Uncanny X-Men. This is by Gail Simone. She has some different artists and things, but Javier Garron on this specific one. And this is From the Ashes. X-Men, of course. And this has the best team, not close, of any of the From the Ashes X-Men book. We've got Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee. And then we even get these characters who are New Mutants. We've got Jitter, Ransom, Death Dream, and Calico. I will say, if you do not like the new characters, if you don't like these 4 characters here, you got Calico, Death Dream, Jitter, and Ransom. You're not going to like this book because they are featured. There was some really awesome character moments early in the series. And one of the reasons it is as low as it is here at number 9 on the list, this specific issue, I don't know what it is with some of these, issue 6s. But this one didn't capture me the way the rest of the series is. The first arc was awesome. You had Sarah Gaunt hunting down some mutants. You had Xavier's home for mutants turned into a mutant prison. A lot of cool concepts, and I will say that Gail Simone absolutely crushes it in the department of knowing how to write these characters and getting their voice right. She really knows how to, each of these characters, from Rogue to Gambit. As you see, Rogue and Gambit, of course, lovebirds, and she knows how to speak with them, for them rather. She has a good voice for each of them. So Uncanny X-Men, Really great series. My favorite from the Ashes X-Men book. My favorite X-Men book, period, right now. Obviously, because, Ultimate didn't quite crack the top 10, but Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone, absolutely crushing it. I'm really digging it. Hopefully, this second arc will be just as good as the first. Next up at number 8, we've got Uncanny Valley. This is by Tony Fleece and Tone Rodriguez. This one was awesome. This book is from the same, Tony Fleece and, Dave Watcher. I'm thinking of the next book. What am I doing? There's 2 Tony Fleece books, but this is Uncanny Valley. Basically, the gist of this one is this young boy is swept away to a cartoon world, and he is part cartoon. His mom is basically half, so he would be a quarter, I guess, cartoon, and he gets swept away into the cartoon world. There is this big baddie, and she is wanting to basically, has some nefarious plans. You're going to have to read it. But Uncanny Valley, this is issue 6. They are about to release issue 7. And this book has been awesome. I've really, really enjoyed it. The art is fun and whimsical. All the cartoon characters can do the things that you would expect. So if you're running away from somebody, you could draw a tunnel into the side of a building. The main character, the little boy, as he jumps, they jump off a bridge at the beginning in the first issue, and you can see him doing the oh my gosh with his feet, and he lands safely, of course, where the other boys get hurt. It's just funny. I love it. It's great. Tony Fleece is awesome. And moving on to the next one, at 7, we've got Feral. This is Tony Fleece with Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. This book was awesome and is awesome. It's an ongoing book. It's still going. You can pick it up now, I'm sure. But that being said, this is from the same group that gave you Stray Dogs. And basically, to put it very, very simply, it is Night of the Living Dead, zombie book, combined with kitty cats. And of course, what would a zombie apocalypse outbreak look like if you were cats? It'd be rabies, of course. So we follow several kitty cats, and they are really trying to deal with what a Walking Dead, type scenario would be if everybody in their universe had rabies. And each and every single episode ramps up the tension, the stakes, and the suspense. Every single issue. The art here by Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez is very whimsical, but it does get creepy when it needs to be. As you can see in this page, find a dead kitty underneath a freaking couch. It's super creepy. There's one issue where it's first person. I will say, if you are extremely, you don't like animal violence, obviously no one likes animal violence. It's terrible. If that really, really hits you in a certain way, you might not want to read this. But Feral has been awesome. Has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm really digging it. But that being said, Feral, 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 7 on this year's list. Moving on, we have another short series. It was ongoing. It's a mini-series. Hey, it's my list. I love this book. This is Universal Monsters Frankenstein. It was a 4-part mini-series by Skybound and Image. Michael Walsh and Toni Marie Griffin on this book. And Michael Walsh was the writer, artist, and cover artist. Toni Marie Griffin was the colorist. And I gotta say, Toni Marie Griffin absolutely crushed the colors in this book. But basically, this takes our classic Universal Horrors Frankenstein, and adds a little bit of a twist to it, because we have a young child who is basically, at the very start of the series, it is revealed that his dad had just passed away. He is grieving late at night in the cemetery, and they basically, Frankenstein and his Igor in this series dig up his body, and his hand is used to create Frankenstein's monster. In this issue, there are a lot of iconic scenes from the movie that made the whole series popular. But yeah, Frankenstein, it's awesome. Michael Walsh might also be my favorite up and coming comic book creator this year, because he's on this and another book called Null Hunter. Only 2 issues in it, which is why it didn't make the list this year. But maybe in 2025, Null Hunter will make it. But Frankenstein, issue 1 through 4, it's awesome. If you love Universal Horrors and Universal Monsters, you are going to really dig this book. And I think even if you don't, which I'm not the the biggest Universal Monsters fan, just look at the art. It's great. It's kinetic. It's awesome. Check out Universal Monsters. What are we at to? Number 5, I think? I think we're to number 5. We are to number 5. Gotta make sure. Yes. So next up at number 5, we've got Ain't No Grave. Skottie Young, Jorge Corona, the same exact team that brought us Middle West. Ain't No Grave is awesome. Ain't No Grave is phenomenal. Look at this amazing art by Jorge Corona and the phenomenal story. I don't want to give too much away because this one is the 5th and final book in the series. But basically, we have a Western kind of sci-fi fantasy tale here, where this mom, who was a bandit her whole life, she's got a child and a husband, I guess, but she's been a kind of a scoundrel her whole life, and basically, ain't no grave, as you can tell, she kind of has to deal with death here. She has to deal with death, and she has to try and find a way to not die. Does it happen? Find out within the pages of Ain't No Grave. An amazing, amazing story, a real story. I don't want to give away a spoiler, but I think I have to say this. Sometimes in comic books, you get the payoff. Sometimes in comic books, most times in comic books, the heroes, the protagonists prevail. Not all the time, though. This book was awesome. The series was excellent. Skottie Young, Jorge Corona absolutely work magic when they work together. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I would put this up against almost any book this year, which is why it is at number 5 on my list for best books of 2024. Ain't No Grave. So good. So good. Next up at number 4, almost cracking the top 3, we've got Rick Remender and Brian Posehn on the writing duties, Brett Parson and Moreno Dionisio on Grommets. This is a slice of life book where these 2 characters, who are named Rick and Brian, they're these punk rock skaters from the 80s. 80s vibes for sure. So if you grew up in the 80s, and I will say if you grew up in the 90s, because this reminds me a lot of my childhood and you skated, you're going to love this book. What started out mostly as just a slice of life, these kids kind of skating, drinking a little, getting a little high, chasing girls, just having fun, being high schoolers like they do, just having a good time, really turns into something here in the last issues 5 and 6 get real for sure. I don't want to give too much away of this book. I guess I should have grabbed an earlier issue. But you see the art in here by Brett Parson and Dionisio is absolutely awesome. Grommets really surprised me. I knew I was going to like it because Brian Posehn and especially Rick Remender. Rick Remender is one of my favorite writers, as I said earlier, on Napalm Lullaby. But Grommets, absolutely awesome. Much more grounded. There's no fantastical shenanigans, chicanery in this book, but it is just a slice of life book that eventually does ramp up to a really deep story and tells you this bond of these 2 punk rock skater boys from the 80s, and it honestly reminds me of my childhood a lot. I didn't grow up in the 80s, but I did grow up in the 90s. In the late 90s and early 2000s was when I was, skating and stuff. So, but Grommets was awesome. Grommets is awesome. It's still ongoing. We've got one more issue, and then it is over. I really do like that Giant Generator, which is Rick Remender's imprint. He now tells you how many issues are in the story. I really appreciate that. But yeah, Grommets at number 4. Next up, we are heading to the top 3. Oh yeah, here we go. At number 3, drum roll please. Do it on your laptop or wherever you're watching. We've got Transformers. Holy moly. This book right here has consistently been amazing all year. This was my pick last year for best book. And this is this year cracking the top 3 because how could it not? This book has been awesome. This year we've seen so many things. We saw the conclusion to the second arc rather. And yeah, one of the best books I've read in a very, very long time. We've got issue number 12, which was, oh my gosh, a masterpiece. That may have been actually first or second best single issue books I've read. If you haven't, go check out issue number 12 of Transformers. This has been awesome. There's not been a bad issue all throughout it. If you like Transformers, if you don't like Transformers, you need to check this out. This is Daniel Warren Johnson. Jorge Corona is on most of the art. However, that being said, this specific issue, Jason Howard, Mike Spicer is the colorist, who is always with Daniel Warren Johnson. But this series has been awesome. And I am not a big Transformers fan. I've said this before in other videos. I was a little bit too young to get on the 80s wave of Transformers and like those toys and things, the show, the movie. I don't recalling watching. I know I probably have watched the animated movie back from the 80s, but I don't really remember it. And of course, the Michael Bay movies are mid at best, right? The first one was fine. The others, not. So I don't have any real nostalgia for this IP for Transformers. That being said, this book is amazing. If you like comic books and you know anything about comic books, Daniel Warren Johnson knows how to put heart. He knows how to put heart behind his characters, not only just the human characters, which are here. There are several human characters that Daniel Warren Johnson makes you care about off the rip. Immediately, you care about the characters from issue number 1 now to issue 14, and it's still going on. So, and Daniel Warren Johnson going to be on the book for at least till issue 2024. So this book could be on the list again in 2025. This book has been last year and this year since I've been doing this YouTube channel. This book hasn't not cracked the top 3. Of course, this book last year, as I said, was number 1. It's number 3 this year. Not to say that this book still isn't crushing, but I'm absolutely loving the Transformers. This is, of course, by Image and Skybound, by the way. Moving on to number 2. And this may be a controversial one because I'm sure it has taken the spot of number 1 from a lot of these top 10 2024 comic book videos. It's going to be Ultimate Spider-Man. And Ultimate Spider-Man, you may have been expecting to be number 1 on this list. Sorry to disappoint, but for my money, there's one other book that is atop the list. But that being said, I don't want to take anything away from this book because it's amazing. Jonathan Hickman on the writing duties, Jorge Corona on most of the issues. On this specific issue that I grabbed has Messina, and he does a good job, I gotta say. But basically, we get in this book the Peter Parker that we all want in the Amazing Spider-Man line. We get a Peter Parker who has Mary Jane as his wife. He has 2 children. One thing that is a little different, that is a lot different actually, is Ben, Uncle Ben. You know, we all know, love Uncle Ben. Rip, never coming back. Well, he's alive in this series. He is alive. Mary Jane's here. Aunt May, though, passed away. So basically, we have an adult Peter Parker who just became Spider-Man in his 30s, and he's dealing with that. There are criticisms of this book, and this is Jonathan Hickman, so this is big overarching narrative that he drops little plot points here and there, but there have been criticisms of it being too slow. Now, I will say, I think it was issue 4, maybe 5. It was just a conversation in a restaurant. Literally, Peter talking with Mary Jane and a couple of other people. What did I think about that issue? It wasn't the greatest issue of the series, that's for sure, but I love the way that when Hickman is in his bag and doing his thing, you got to trust the process, and I certainly do. Ultimate Spider-Man, number 2 on this year's books. All right, and you've been waiting for it. The moment you've all been waiting for, the number 1 book, in my opinion, of 2024. It had to go. It had to always be. If you've been watching the channel, you already know. It's Radiant Black, folks. Radiant Black, the best contemporary new comic book superhero multiverse in comic books for my money. We finally got the huge, huge payoff of the entire series so far. And it's still going. It's going to keep continuing into January and beyond. So I'm really excited. We got the conclusion to the Catalyst War. This is specific issue was a combined issue 30 and 30.5 Ultimate Edition. Who becomes Radiant Black? Who becomes Radiant Black? If you don't know what Radiant Black is, basically it is a millennial version of what a superhero would be. Kyle Higgins, there's so many, Joe Clark, the artists, Marcelo Costa, Eduardo Fregarito, amazing workers in this book and the entire massive universe, or massive verse. But Radiant Black, this specific book here was my favorite book of the year. We finally find out, is it going to be Marshall? Is it going to be Nathan? Who's going to be the Radiant Black, the one Radiant to rule them all? And this has the most, it absolutely sticks the landing. You know how some books, some stories, some movies, they just can't quite stick the landing? Well, this book absolutely does. We have the ultimate, like, end game team up. Essentially, this entire issue, or, well, 2 issues, is the end game to the Catalyst War. And, man, we see Radiant Black really, really unleash freaking Black Hole, dude. This book was awesome. Not even just this issue, but every issue this year. Just the build up to the final conclusion to the Catalyst War was amazing. I absolutely love this series. It's my favorite new series. And as I said, it is, in my opinion, Radiant Black in this series, in this massive verse that Kyle Higgins has helped, and other creators have helped create, is the best contemporary superhero made in a very, very long time. But yeah, I really love this book. I can't say any more to how amazing this book is. But yeah, Radiant Black this year just absolutely crushed it. The fact that it stuck the landing so well, and the person who I wanted to be Radiant Black got chosen. They actually had fans vote on it, which it can be, as we've seen in comics history, can be a, kind of a catch-22, if you will. But no, they absolutely stuck the landing. Radiant Black's amazing. I love comic books. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it. Subscribe, because I come out with weekly comic book content. I have a poll list and everything. But if you like comic books or graphic novels, this is the place for you. Thank you all so much. 2024 was such a good year for me personally. Not only with the channel, which has been amazing. I've been able to grow it to just over 600 subscribers in, I guess, a little less than a year and a half. And that's amazing. That is Thanks to all of you. But if you are, whether you've been rocking with me from day one or you're brand new, I appreciate the heck out of you. And just my growth as a comic book reader and collector has been awesome. And I'm really digging comics still. So thank you all so much for rocking with me. 2025. Can we get to 1,000 subscribers? That's going to be the goal. Hopefully we definitely can. Hopefully this video helps out with that. But I appreciate you all. And let me know your lists in the comments. If you want to chop it up with me elsewhere, hit me up on League of Comic Book Geeks, where I give away, or not give away, but I share my reviews and everything. And you can check out my poll list. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, all those links and stuff will be down below. But thank you all so much again. This has been awesome. This YouTube channel has done a lot for my mental health, and just have a place to talk comics with you all and build a community and get to talk about comics, because there's not a lot of people I know that collect weekly comics. So thank you all so much. My name's Alex. Graphic Novel Collector is the name of the channel. I appreciate you. There's only me. I do everything here at the channel. But yeah, I appreciate you. And be on the lookout if you're watching this just now for the next version of this. This will be top 10 graphic novels of the year. So yeah, thank you all so much. 2024 has been awesome. I appreciate you. Keep reading comics, keep collecting comics, and I will see you all on the flippy flop. Adios, everyone.